He told me he had a good case. No, I should correct that. He told me he had a great case and that I was absolutely crazy, out of my mind, to not accept his case. You want to know what this is all about and why I rejected this particular client? Come join me for a walk around the lake as I share with you the answer to that question. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. This gentleman called me one day and proceeded to tell me a story about something that happened to him. It was very interesting. The first question I asked him was, did this happen to you or a family member? He said, it happened to me. I said, when did this happen? And he gave me the time period. It was about a year earlier before this call. Now, why is that important? Because I need to know immediately whether or not this matter may be timely. The gentleman proceeded to tell me a story, and he proceeded to explain to me in detail about what he believed this doctor and hospital staff did wrong. And as I'm listening to the story, I'm listening for key things. Now, you might be wondering, what is it that I need to look for in order to determine whether or not he has a valid case? Before I can answer that question, I have to tell you, it is practically impossible for me to tell anyone who calls me on the phone whether or not they have a good case simply by just a few-minute phone call. And why do I say that? Because in these medical malpractice cases, I need to spend a great deal of time with you learning all the facts, not just facts on a few-minute phone call, not just an off-the-cuff conversation that we have over a few minutes. No, I need to have a detailed, in-depth conversation with you that lasts at least an hour. I need to obtain all the details of everything that happened to you. And importantly, I would then need to get all of your medical records to review, to confirm, to see exactly what was done and why. And on top of that, then I have to go ahead and send out your records to a medical expert to review it, to evaluate whether or not you have a good case, or I should say, a great case. Now, let's get back to the question I raised in the title of this video. Why would I reject a case of a gentleman who told me that he believed he had a great case? As I began to talk with the gentleman a little bit further, I began to recognize one significant problem. This gentleman experienced a complication, a problem of the treatment he was receiving that could have occurred without any wrongdoing whatsoever. This was a known, recognized risk of the procedure. This was a known, recognized complication of the surgery that he had. Yet this caller kept telling me that it didn't matter, that he knew something was done wrong. How did he know? Because he knew it in his gut. He had a feeling. He knew that this complication, this problem, this should never have happened. And you know what I told him? You might be right. You might be right that this particular problem that you have now should never have happened. However, just because you say it's so, doesn't mean it's so. I have to confirm and validate through a medical expert that what you are claiming is true. If, in fact, the doctor was careless, and his carelessness was a cause of your injury, and your injuries are significant and or permanent, now we can have a conversation. Why? A medical expert will then have been able to confirm all of the claims that you have told me about, and in that instance, then I can come back to you and tell you, okay, our expert has confirmed that you have a good case, and now we can proceed forward. So let's get back and answer the question in the beginning of this video. Why would I reject this gentleman's claim? The reason is, I didn't think he had liability, which means, based upon what he told me, I felt that this injury was most likely something that was not a result of malpractice. And he kept arguing with me, saying I was wrong. I said, you know what? You are entitled to feel that way. You are entitled to believe that you are right and I am wrong. That's perfectly okay. But what I can tell you, because of my experience, because of my belief, because of my working with other medical experts in this particular field, I can tell you that I don't believe you have a case. However, don't rely on what I'm saying. I have not had an opportunity to review your records. I have not had an opportunity to go ahead and get your medical records. I have not had an opportunity to go through page by page or have my expert review your records. So I can't tell you for certain whether or not you do or not, but my gut tells me that you likely do not have a case. And even if you do, it's not something that I'd be willing to take on. And that made this caller even more incensed and more upset. Why? Because then I said, even if we are able to show that the doctor was careless and that his carelessness caused you injury, we are going to have a very tough time establishing that your injuries are permanent, that your injuries are disabling, that your injuries are long-lasting and are going to affect your life for the remainder of your life. And again, the gentleman was arguing with me. Why? Because he believed that his injuries were in fact permanent. And I said to him again, I said, you may be 100% correct that your injuries are permanent. However, it's only been a year. We don't know. We don't know if this is really going to be permanent or if this is a temporary situation. I have not had an opportunity to talk to any of your treating doctors. I don't know what their opinions are about whether or not your injuries will improve or whether or not you will need further treatment, whether you will need further surgery, whether you will need ongoing rehabilitation, whether you will need any care in the future to address these injuries. And he kept getting more and more upset with me because, why? Because I was not willing to accept his case despite the fact that he believed he had a great case. So ultimately, I had to tell him, I'm sorry, I'm not the right attorney for you. I strongly suggest that you reach out to another attorney immediately to see if they would be willing to investigate your case in detail. And then, after having a medical expert review the records, then they can come back to you with an intelligent, educated answer about whether or not you do have a valid case. That's my best recommendation, and that is why I told this gentleman that I could not help him, because I did not feel that all the criteria necessary in order to show that we had a valid case were there. And importantly, the last criteria, the fourth criteria that I talk about is, what type of person is this? Now I'm looking forward 2 or 3 years and thinking, what type of witness, what type of plaintiff, what type of injured patient will this make when he gets up on the witness stand to tell his story to the jury? Is he going to be pleasant? Is he going to be nasty? Is he going to be obnoxious? Will the jury like him? Is he a likable person? If he is constantly arguing, if he constantly believes he's right and no one else can tell him that he's wrong, guess what? A jury will not appreciate that. So for all those reasons, I politely declined to accept him as a potential client. And I had to tell him, please go find another attorney immediately. I realize you likely have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen in New York, but you have not yet started a lawsuit and are thinking of doing so, and still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I answer questions like yours every single day, and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a fantastic day.